Hey there, Heather Ho, there's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome to another Stone Cold Hockey video for the 1972-73 WHA season, the first ever season of the WHA, the big competitor to those pesky NHLers. The East Division having the New England Whalers, soon to be the Hartford Whalers when they were merged into the league. The Quebec Nordiques also merged to the NHL. The New York Raiders, who went to New Jersey and then went to a few other places. The Cleveland I would say Guardians, but that can't be right. The Cleveland, I would say the Cleveland Crusaders. That's it. Damn it! I've graduated from Waterloo Oxford. We were known as the Crusaders at the time. Yeah, Cleveland. They wanted pro hockey in Cleveland, and then the NHL moved the Oakland Seals to Cleveland to become the Cleveland Barons for 2 seasons. Philadelphia competing directly with the NHL's Flyers, with the Blazers, and having a few former Flyers such as Derek Sanderson and I find it pretty prompt. The Ottawa Nationals trying to bring the WHA towards Canada and all that. They moved to Toronto to become the Toronto Toros the next season. Winnipeg, they were, of course, merged with the NHL. Los Angeles Sharks, weird how they put a team in Los Angeles to compete with the Kings. The Houston Aeros bring Major League Hockey to Texas. Houston survived to the last season of the NHL, WHA. Minnesota, the Fighting Saints, having a couple of failed attempts to catch the North Stars. The Chicago Cougars trying to, you know, have something to do with the NHL's Blackhawks, and the Alberta Oilers, soon to be the Edmonton Oilers, and soon to be merged. The goal scoring thing under LeCroix and Danny Lawson, both with 13 goals for the Blazers, but they are second last in the East. Assist wise, Bobby Hall has 14 assists. Gee, he can pass the puck. And Bob Szynski. Points wise, under LeCroix leads Bobby Hall and Christian Bordelot in that category. Goes against Jared Cheever's #1. Jack McCartan, the hero of the 1960 Olympics, is #2. Standings wise, lots of teams. Winnipeg's already played 17 games, whereas New England, Cleveland, and Ottawa have only played 12. So Winnipeg's got a lot of games in. Well, sometimes good idea to play less games there because then you can catch them. By points percentage, Cleveland would jump into third behind New England and Quebec, with New York fourth. And points percentage in the West, it would be Houston ahead of LA just by a nip. Minnesota and Chicago battling for that fourth and final spot. New England has yet to lose at Springfield Ice Arena. On the road, the team with the most road wins is Houston, 4-4. New York is 7-2 at home, but 0-6 on the road. The Nordiques, who are 0-2-1 on the road, and Alberta, who are 0-6-1 on the road, have yet to win on the road. You see some stuff, highlights. Everyone's won a game. All that. 6 hat tricks, 6 different players. The most memorable game as of right now, Cleveland Philadelphia, when it was 7-6. It was a 13-goal fest that Cleveland early won Cheevers over Perron October 25th. Philly when they beat Winnipeg on October 24th, 8-4. Winnipeg was up 3-0 and looking to put Philadelphia at 0-6, but they failed. And Chicago, Ottawa, when Chicago wins in overtime on a Morris goal. So we are doing a Saturday game. And all that, we can pick whatever game we want. And I am going to go with Houston, Quebec. And I am going to go with Cleveland and Chicago. No, New York, New England. All right, so the 2 games we're going to be watching: Houston and Quebec, New York, New England in this video. LA, Alberta. LA wins in overtime 3-2, and Cleveland beats Chicago 4-3. We're going to report LA winning the game with 40 seconds left in overtime. Jones from Byers and LeBlanc, the hero. Fennerusso scoring twice for the Sharks. Alberta goes by Perkins and Wall. Cleveland 4-3 on Chicago. Cheevers beats McLeod. Cleveland goes by Buchanan, Andrea, and Hutchin. Chicago goes by Reg Fleming, Loboya, and Liddington. So we're going to head first to New England. And it'll be Bruce Landon, not related to Michael Landon, at least I don't think. He's the backup for the Whalers. He'll face Gary Kirk, who's also the backup for the Raiders. So the New York Raiders with Ron Ward, Bobby Sheehan, former Hab, I know that. Wayne Rivers, former Bruin. Gene Pikosh, Norm Ferguson, Can block Brian Bradley, not the future Tampa Bay slash Toronto player. Mike Lawton, Brian Perry, Craig Reichmuth, Bill Spear, Hal Willis, Kent Douglas, the former Leaf slash Golden Seal, Wally Olds, Bob Winograd, Jamie Kennedy, not the actor, Gary Peters, Brian Morans, Clyde Chartres, Elton White, Ted Scarf, who would soon become a um, member of the Kitchener Rangers board of directors, Bob Bryant, and Jean Gauthier. On New England side, we have Tom Webster, who once got trouble for throwing a bench on the ice. Terry McCaffrey as a coach. Terry McCaffrey, Larry Plow, former Have, I know him. Tim Sheehy, Jim Dory, the former Leaf. John French, Ted Green, who suffered a year-long absence from hockey in 1970 because of that stick swing incident with Wayne Mackey. Kevin Ahern, Brett Selby, the former Calder Trophy winner, Leaf slash Flyer. John Danby, Brad Selwood, former Leaf. Tommy Williams, an American NHLer. Rick Lay, who was a Leaf legend. Yeah, right. Tom Earl, Mike Kidman, Paul Hurley, Dick Saracen, John Cuniff, Guy Smith, Rick Jordan. Here we go. Six more minutes. And New England back to the zone, auto zone. So New England might be in a good position. My New York Steelers. Too bad you're not as smart as you thought you were in the first place. Norm. Yeah, the Norm Show. Norm Ferguson has 8 from Sheehan and Spear. And the last moments of the first period, an aggression and a penalty on Tommy Williams for the Whale. They're 9-3. Okay, New York Steelers. Pop, power play goal. Ronnie Ward. I do run. I do run. Yeah, that's number 8. Yeah, Wayne Rivers made the assist. Yeah, I know I'm weird, but it's a do run. I do run. PK, that's a Hearn. I knew I would say Patriots. New York Steelers. Oshkosh Pekosh. His 9th from Spear and Sheehan. Okay. 3 minutes later, and Selby tried to score but can't. Much later. New England transfer Webster can't do anything. After New York Steelers, I do run. I do run. Yeah, that's number 9. Yeah, Block and Reichman made the assist. Yeah, it's 4-1. I do run. I do run. We're near the ending, and Ron Ward up. Hat trick. Throw those hats. Throw those hats. Throw those hats. What? No hats? Silly kittens. You get no pie. Alton White and Bobby Sheehan with the assists. 5-1 New York. And this team never wins on the road. So Al Smith has to come in for the Whale. They only have 2 goalies. Much later. It'll be Lawton. It'll be Lawton. Four more minutes. It's 4 from Jordan and Caffrey. It's 5-4. Empty net chance. No. Oh man, Larry Paul. Wow, New York was sweating bullets. It was 5-1. They were sweating bullets. It makes it 5-4. But in the last 6 minutes, Gary Kurt does his job, and the Raiders finally win on the road, and the Whalers finally lose on home turf. Amazing. New York had a 5-1 lead and almost choked it. Kurt beats Landon. Well, nice job by Al Smith to be in the net. But New York can't believe they lost. All 3 penalties were led to power play goals, if you must know. And now Houston, Quebec. Quebecois will have Sergio Aubry, the main guy, and Don McLeod, the backup, who would later become Houston's star goalie. Wayne Rutledge is there, the former Kings goalie. Bill Hughes, Richard Brodeur. This is 9 years before his famous playoff run with the Canucks when they got to the final. And Jacques Lemelin. Houston guys, Gordon Boisson, former King. Ted Taylor, Murray Hall, former Canuck, I think. Larry Lund, Paul Papille, Dion Grierson, Duke Harris, Frank Hughes, Brian McDonald, Ed Hoekstra, Larry Hale, Cleve Morrison, Doug McCollum, John Scala, Jack Stanfield, Brian Smith, Ray LaRose, Gord Kenningser, and Brent Prentice. Quebecois, JC Tremblay, former Hab. I know him from my playthroughs. Michel Paraso. I hope he's not related to Jacques Paraso. Andre Godet, Alain Caron, Bobby Gwendon, Rene Leclerc, Jean-Guy Gendron, Jean Payette, Michel Arberjo, Yves Bergeron, Francois Lacombe, former SEAL, Regin Giroux, Michel Rouleau, Frank Golowski, Pierre Roy, Michel Harvey, Pierre Grite, Jacques Blaine, Ken Desjardins, Paul Rose, Guy Dufour, Charlie Cartier, Laurent Descoutu. So basically, if you're French Canadian, you've got to cheer for these guys. 5 minutes into the game, Papille tried to score. Another 5. Double hit, nothing doing. Much later. Agitator, Quebec, Blaine, 2 minutes. Houston, Taylor, and they killed the stone on him and Smith. There is a fight, and it's Pupio and Lacombe. Paul Papio and Francois Lacombe. Both have defenders, so they're both defenders. 5 defenders. All the penalties are being served. No score through 20. Session. Hayat will be serving a 2-minute penalty. Will Houston score? Yes, they do. They score. Power play go. Duke of Earl. Duke of Earl. Harris his third from Taylor and Kengeser. 2 minutes later. Wait, come on. We want fights. Okay. Houston delivered a hit. 5 minutes later. Houston scores. Larry Legend. Not. Well, his first goal from Duke Harris and Murray Hall. Man, Duke Harris with 2 points. Did I talk about Duke Harris? I think I did. Well, it's 2-0 nevertheless. There's a fight. It's Brian McDonald and Michel Rouleau. We'll go. Houston's up 2-0 through 40 minutes. Both of them, everyone said it doesn't really matter. Now that's when the 4 minutes later, Lund. This is called Payette et Lacombe. 3 minutes later. And, I thought Parasol scored. I thought it was 8. Really? Time is fleeting. Thanks a lot. And they killed the stone. So we're in overtime 2-2. Stella. We'll go back to overtime heroic. And the Nordiques win on prolongation. 3-2. Houston was up 2-0 and blew it. But it wasn't really like blown up. That's the first. So anyway, Sunday, we do Saturday games. Cleveland, Alberta. Cleveland beats Alberta. Philly crushes Ottawa to find Pounder 8-1. Winnipeg beats LA 6-4. New England, Houston wins in overtime. Philly beats Chicago. Cleveland beats Minnesota in overtime. Winnipeg beats LA. Alberta crushes Winnipeg. Houston beats LA. Quebec doubles up on New York. Cleveland beats Ottawa. Minnesota beats Quebec. Chicago wins in overtime. So Cleveland wins. And LA with the shutout over Winnipeg. Let's see. Ottawa, New England can't work. Quebec, New York can't work. Minnesota, Philly can work. So we will finish it off with Minnesota, Philly. Yeah, we will finish with Minnesota, Philly. New England beats Ottawa 5-3, and New York beats Quebec 8-3. So Minnesota at Philly, it will be Marcel Paillet, the backup for Philly, not Bernie Perrant, the former Leaf and Flyer. It'll be Marcel Paillet who will be in net, the former Bruin and goalie. Use Arbogast and Tom Connors are also on the net. Minnesota will bring Mike Curran, the big guy, with Jack McCartan, the hero of the 1960 U.S. Olympic team. And you'd be thinking, Jeff, you're stupid. It's 1980. No, it's not. People forget that the U.S. men's team did win the gold medal in 1960 at Squaw Valley, California. That's what they call the Forgotten Miracle on Ice. And they beat the Czechs. The Czechs were looking for the gold medal, but the U.S. beat the Czechs 9-4. But thanks to the Russian captain who mined oxygen to the U.S. team, it helped them out. The Fighting Saints 6-7-1. The Blazers 6-8-1. Wayne Connolly, the former Bruin and Blue, I think. Ted Hampson, former SEAL. Bill Klatt, Mike McMahon, former North Star, I think. Keith Christensen, George Morrison, Bobby McMillan, former Leaf, future Flame. Terry Ball, Mike Antonovich, John Arbor, Fred Speck, Jim Johnson, Len Lillyholm, Mel Pearson, Terry Ryan, Dick Paradise, Frank Sanders, not the wide receiver for the Cardinals, Georgie Connick, Craig Falkman, and Brian Lehman. The Philadelphia Blazers under WHA, the former washed-up NHLer who turned great in the WHA. Danny Lawson, a great scorer too. Pi McKenzie off Boston, really? Brian Campbell, former Blackhawk. Don Harriman, Ron Plum, no relation to Eve, I think. Don Burgess, Donald Donahue, Irv Spencer, Jim Cardiff, Michel Plante, Richard Campo, John Mignot, Michel Boudreau, Camille Lapierre, a lot of French Canadians. John Bennett, Derek Sanderson, who basically played 8 games for the Blazers and then left. He was given a massive contract. Went back to the NHL, I think. Yeah, he did. Pierre Henry, Derek Harker, John Gravel, Nick Polano, Dennis Meloche, Dave Hutchinson, Pierre Paymont, and Ray Mosal. And John Harriman cannot score for the Blazers. Much later. Minnesota takes a shot. No, they won't. 3 minutes later. 1-0 Flyers. You knew I was going to goof up possession. It's Harryman for 2. Minnesota, can they tie it up? They killed the zone on Lillyholm and Sanders. Much later. There's a fight between Mike McMahon and Richard Campo. It actually hurts Minnesota more because McMahon took his play. But they score at the buzzer. Bill Klatt beats the buzzer. He clapped that one from Arbor and Lillyholm. We are tied skis at 1 skis. Campo, a defenseman, against McMahon, a defenseman. So both are playing with 5 defensemen. It's Rosie Paymont. Hey, I thought I said something about Rosie Paymont. Did I not? Well, anyway, Minnesota scores. Pop-up power play goal. Wayne Connolly. That's his 11 from Paradise and Pearson. I think I said something about Paymont. Oh, no, that's not Rosie Paymont. That's Pierre Paymont. What am I thinking? Fuck. Anyway, Ron Plum trying to score. Battle aggression. No shot by Pearson. Now they do score. Pop-up power play goal on the ball. With Terry Ball, his second from Morrison and McMillan. Got it? McQuah. Minnesota takes another on scores. Pop-up power goal. George Jim Morrison. Baby, would you light my fire? Well, they are the Blazers. Mike McMahon and Wayne Connolly with the assists. 4-1 for the Fighting Saints. It's McMahon for 2. Philly can't do anything about it. 4-1. Oh, they're down 4-1, so they're going to give Codringer. Yeah, they're going to give Codringer some time in the net. I don't know why. I think we go with Plante. But Bill Klatt gets his 2nd of the night, 8th of the year from Terry Ball, makes it 5-1. I think it's just a give up. Fight between John Arbor and Brian Campbell. Interesting. I thought for Lawson scored at the 15th assist from Lacroix. 5-2. No chance of quad. Darn it. I thought he had it. 4 minutes later. No. The clock's going to run down. And the Fighting Saints win 5-2. As Philly just had nothing in their back pocket. Platt with 2 goals. Connolly, Ball, and Morrison for Minnesota. Philly goals by Cardiff and Lawson. Houston beat Cleveland in overtime. Winnipeg beat LA 4-2. Minnesota beat Chicago 4-1. And Philly beat New York 5-4. So let's see what the 25th brings. Houston and Cleveland. 12th. Yep. Alberta, New York, and Chicago, Philly. Huh. Can't really do a Saturday. Ottawa, New England, can't do. Winnipeg, Houston, can't do. Cleveland, LA. Cleveland, LA. Okay, so Cleveland, LA. So on the Tuesday, we'll do Cleveland at LA. And everything else is like freed up. Yeah, so Cleveland, LA, we'll worry about for the 21st. Anyhow, I'm Jeff. I'm going to do